Hey everyone, it's Olivia. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. So I know it's been quite a long time since you guys have seen me, and I wasn't even sure if I would ever come back, but the most unreal thing has happened. Teen Wolf has created a movie. Now, if you know me, Teen Wolf is my absolute favorite TV show. It was my whole middle school years, and now they're back 5 years after the show has ended with a brand new movie. Well, obviously, brand new. Whatever. But they're back with a movie, continuing a story, and I want to give my honest review as a huge Teen Wolf fan, telling you if it's worth watching, if the nostalgia factor is there. Every question that you have, I'm going to give it to you, hopefully. And if I don't answer every question that you have, just comment below. I'll try to be as active as possible with replying because I want to promote this movie. Spoiler alert! Anyways, before I get into the review, I would like to say I will not be spoiling any parts of this movie, so some details that you may think are crucial if you've already seen the movie will definitely be left out because I'm making this more for people who are trying to decide if they should see the movie. If I'm being completely honest, I've never been great at reviewing movies, strictly because I don't like to spoil things. I don't know what type of questions to ask, what are important things to share. So I have a list of questions on my phone that I'm going to be looking at to just kind of guide me through this review so I can give you as much information as possible. Now, I think the most number one important question about the Teen Wolf movie is, was it a story worth continuing? And my opinion is kind of very mixed here. I have felt empty since season 6 left off. I felt like there was more to the story, and now I've seen more to the story, and there are some aspects that I wish just were left as is and not reopened. Now, of course, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, so if you have any specific questions about what those things are, you can comment that and I'll just comment back, but with a bunch of spoiler warnings, so be careful when you're reading the comment section of this video. So, a little premise of the movie. It is, I think, 15 years later is my guess. I don't know the exact timeline, but we're gonna go with it's 15 years later. Everyone has moved on with their lives. Basically, everyone is out of Beacon Hills, but there's a few people left there. You'll see. There's something that goes down that makes everyone need to come back together. And as you know, there are some people that are missing, sadly, but we're just not gonna let that bring us down. So this isn't even a spoiler because obviously we all knew when the information about the movie came out, Allison is back. But is she actually Allison? Well, that's what you gotta watch the movie for to find out. So everyone knows that Allison is back, and so they all have to go back to Beacon Hills and figure out what is going on with Allison. How did she come back? Oh god, I'm really sorry if this is a bad review. I'm trying my best. Okay, so yeah, there's the premise, and going back to the question, was it worth continuing the story of Teen Wolf? Honestly, I think it's only worth continuing the story if there's more to the story after the movie. The movie in and of itself was not worth the continuation. Because like I said, there are some things that I wish were left untouched, and unfortunately, they touched it. Now our whole entire concept of where some of these people are in the future has changed, and I don't really like that necessarily. Next thing I'm going to touch on is each individual character and their arcs and screen time. So first, we obviously have Scott McCall. He kind of ended up exactly where I would expect him to end up 15 years later. There's definitely a few things that I expected to still be going on in his life that did not happen with the 15 years later, but I mean, it is 15 years, a lot can happen, but I feel like some of those things were left kind of unexplained on why they didn't end up happening long term. But as we all know, Scott is the main character. He's going to be on our screens a lot of the time. That was no doubt. So you don't need to worry about not seeing Scott enough. He's there. Next, I'm going to move on to Lydia. So Lydia, at the beginning of the movie, we get to see her in a new element, and it's very cool to see, you know. She's an adult now. She's got things going on, and we all knew that Lydia was a smart girl, so not surprised, but I love to see it. Now, I'm sure all of you are wondering if Lydia is still with Styles because we know he's not in the movie, and all I'm going to say, you'll have to find out. But something I will give you is that we do hear about Styles from her, so you'll just have to see what those things about him are. Okay, so now we have our fan favorite, possibly. I don't know. Some people hate her, some people love her. The returning queen, Allison Argent. So, as we could tell, Allison is a villain this season. It's a movie. But yeah, Allison comes back, but not really in the way that we remember her. Now she's a threat, and it's really tearing up the pack, but also causing them to come back together because they have to fix the threat that is Allison, their beloved best friend, lover for Scott, you know, the gist. And because we all know she was killed in season 3, we've really been missing out on her screen time. And luckily, the movie does give you a lot of screen time for her, so if you were looking forward to that, they got you covered. Now I'm gonna talk about Malia. Honestly, Malia was not in the movie as much as I expected her to be. Kind of a disappointment, but also kind of not, because I was really mainly in it for Allison's return. So sorry, Malia. I'm fine with you not being in it as much, but that was kind of a shock to me because she was such an important role after season 4. So I don't really know what went on there, but it's okay. Hopefully we get more movies. Then we have Jackson, who's also making a return after, well, he was in the finale, but he left the show after season 2, and he's definitely changed a lot since then, in a good way. I think he's like way less dislikable than before, and we like to see that. And also him and Lydia are still close, but obviously, as we know in the finale of the show, he's went other ways with his love life, but luckily his first love, Lydia, whatever, they're still really close. Then I'm gonna cover Liam. Liam was also not as much screen time as I expected. A little bit disappointing there, but he does have a crucial role in this film. I just wish we saw more of him besides his crucialness to what's going on. Then we got all the adults, such as Derek, Melissa, Stalinsky, Peter, Chris. Am I forgetting anyone? I guess Deacon would count. They're just kind of like how they've always been. They're just like kind of there, kind of giving their 2 cents, helping out, being supportive, and you know, I'm glad that we had that familiarity. Like, they've obviously been adults for a long time. We've only known them as adults. So they haven't changed that much, but they're still just as supportive with all their kids and everything. And then finally, I'm going to talk about our 2 new characters, Eli and Hikari. So Hikari is a kitsune, and as we know, kitsunes are very important with the whole entire no Kitsune Oni storyline. So she does have a crucial role. She wasn't really that big of a character though, as I expected her to be, and so I really do hope that we get more because she does seem interesting, and I would like to learn more about her and her relation with a certain person. And then Eli, he like had a lot of screen time. He's definitely being set up to be like the new main character, I guess. Possibly. I don't know what their plan is. We'll have to see. But he did add a good comedic relief that I think we all feared that we would lose without Styles. So they made sure to give us some of that. Of course, it's nothing like Styles. It's different. He definitely has like a good arc throughout this whole movie. He's 15, so he has a lot to learn. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope we see more of him. I know I keep saying that. I obviously want another movie. I think he was a great new addition. Although there are some questions I have about, straight up just gonna say it, who's his mom? Who did Derek get down with? Let's talk about like the rating of the movie, like the audience rating. Is that the right term? You know, like rated G, PG, PG-13, R, that type of rating. Or TVMA, whatever, that type of stuff. This is definitely a little bit more spicy than Teen Wolf, and I love to see it. It's definitely a little weird at first, hearing them actually say swear words and seeing some nudity-ish. It's interesting, for sure. But if you are concerned about the nudity, it is just from the behind. There's nothing up front, nothing down there, just behind. And then swearing, I mean, there's not a lot of it, but just like, you know, your classic. Now let's get to my phone questions because I don't know exactly what else to share. So the first one is, what thoughts does this movie stir in you? What does it make you think about? One thought I guess I had throughout this whole movie is the vibes are different. Like, this does feel different. I couldn't exactly pinpoint what it was. It could have just been like the cinematography of it because it was filmed differently, but it definitely did not completely feel like the Teen Wolf TV show. It felt, I don't know, just different. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I did feel a little bit weird at first, like watching it. It didn't feel right. And it honestly could just be because it's a surreal experience that this show even came back. That was like my first thought. I'm realizing I totally did not answer that question properly. Next is, what is your emotional response to this movie? What did this movie make you feel? Emotionally, I was shook, surprised. It made me very, like, emotional. Like, there were parts where I was just crying in a happy way, or parts where I was crying, like, dang, I wish this didn't happen. Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster. What moments, character, or ideas resonated with you while watching this movie? What about them, and why did you connect with them? Honestly, if I resonate with anyone, probably Scott. You know, his sadness that he has always held for his loss for Allison. I haven't dealt with exactly that type of situation, but there's like things I've lost in my life. Something actually recently, not a person, but just a thing. And it hurts and it sticks with you for a long time or forever. And so I guess that's really relatable, because Scott seeing Allison again like really just reminded him like he's never fully gotten over this, and that's how loss can be. No matter how much time passes, sadly you won't fully feel complete again after that loss. Dang, this just got sad. Why would someone want to watch this film? Well, honestly, I think you would only want to watch it if you are a fan of the show. If you have never seen the show, a lot of things are not going to make sense to you. I guess they did write it kind of where they re-explain a lot of things that you would have maybe only learned from the show. So you could watch it if you haven't seen the show, but I don't think it'll be that enjoyable unless you know the history behind everything, because there's a lot of connection with characters that you need beforehand before getting into this movie, especially because they heavily focus on like 2 characters in this movie, and a lot of people are just kind of left behind a little bit. So I think if you're just going into this blindly, you're just gonna be like, what's going on? Like, why am I hearing about these 2 most of the time? I don't know. One thing that would be a surprise is there were some unexpected appearances from past cast members in this movie that I literally dropped my jaw for one of them. Never thought I would see this character again, and there they were. I think that'll be like a good just like little moment for you if you're kind of feeling lost watching this movie. When that person pops up, you'll be like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? Yeah, it was definitely like a nice surprise seeing things come up that I did not expect to come up at all. Before I complete the review of this movie, I would like to point out that it definitely was a bold choice for Jeff Davis to choose a storyline that had to do with 2 characters that were not even in this movie, Kira and Styles. Now, we all know season 3B is the fan favorite storyline, so of course they're gonna want to bring that type of thing back if they're making a movie, but I feel like since you weren't able to bring important characters back from that season, maybe it should have gone a different direction. I don't think it was completely bad, it was just a little weird that it was a similar thing happening, but the important elements of it were gone. I just realized my background has been unwell. Fixed it. If you're wondering what the pacing of the movie was, there was like a ton of exposition. Took a while to get to like meat of it, but I think it's because they just wanted to reintroduce the characters properly, but it was kind of a little dramatic in some ways that some characters like were reintroduced. I don't know, I think they were like trying for like an epic, like, oh my god, you haven't seen this person in forever, let's make this dramatic scene of them coming back. I don't think that was a little bit necessary, but it's okay, you know, a lot of people make their mistakes and that was one of them. I mean, it is what it is. At least after that little weird section was over, like some of it did feel kind of weird. It kind of got into like the meat of it and did feel more like what we're used to, but the introduction part just felt really forced and odd and dramatic and unrealistic and unnecessary, but it is what it is. In between like quite a few characters, there was like a weird awkward tension that feel like we didn't really exactly know why. Like, we could assume, but I would like to know what went down between those people to cause that tension. I don't know. I feel like that's the theme of this review. It's a big I don't know. Anyways, that concludes this review. I really hope that it gave you some insight on if you would like to watch this movie. I do recommend that you do, mainly because I want the viewing ratings to go up high so we do get a second movie. But I get it if my review deterred you, or if just reading other reviews have deterred you. It is definitely kind of not what I expected. If I were to rate this movie, in all honesty, like as a Teen Wolf fan, it's a 5 out of 5 for me, but in all honesty, it's 3 out of 5 stars of a movie. Yeah, so I hope that this helped. I hope that you enjoyed my unknowledgeable way of reviewing. Anyways, I should probably shut up and let you go and decide if you're gonna watch the movie or not. And if you have watched it, please talk about it with me below, because unfortunately don't have a lot of friends in my real life that are Teen Wolf fans, and I'm dying to talk about this with someone. So give me that platform below, and I will see you guys whenever I see you next. Bye!